Well, hello, folks, and welcome back to another podcast. I am Gorman Garland Jr., aka G-Man. I'm in here in the G-Man podcast studio, and I got a special guest with me today. He's got an interesting story, a motivational story. So, again, I appreciate all you guys out there tuning in to my podcast, wherever you're coming from or wherever you're at. Appreciate each and every one of you. And with that, I'll let my guest introduce himself to you guys and tell a little bit about his story and his journey.
My name is Matt Rudd. Local guy, been here my whole life, and Gorman and I went to school together, and it just, it's just old times. Really, we haven't seen each other in a long time.
Yeah, it has been a while.
And just last few years has been a life transition for me. Totally transformed my life with onset of life events. My wife was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. It'll be 7 years this June. And I got thrusted into the role of caretaker pretty quick. And over the years, you just kind of, you get older, and you gain in weight. And I've always been the big guy. And as years went on, it's like, the weight was always an issue, and I always tried everything to lose weight, but really didn't do much until I had an awakening. Like I said, life events brought a lot of things on, and before Kim, my wife, got diagnosed with cancer, I'd had, I was always a social drinker. Mm-hmm. And we drank permanent camped, and then I was in the field of sales and agronomy sales, and so I kind of started, the drinking started becoming more of a nightly thing for me, and over time you kind of fall into this rut, and I did, and I got to the point where my drinking, it was just too much, and so, by the grace of God, Kim, I knew it was going to come to a point where Kim was going to say, this is it. Right. And it did. And then one of my brother from another mother, my roommate and friend from college, he came all the way from St. Paris, Ohio, and put a boot in my ass. And he's like, you're going to go away and get help. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, I got this. I can handle it. He goes, how's that working for you? And he said, I will take you, and I want you to go. And so I did, and I went away for 28 days. It was horrifying, humiliating. Felt like the lowest piece on earth until I got there and started talking with guys, and we were having group counseling. And I started listening to these guys, and I was like, their stories are the same as mine. And they went through the same things. They told the same lies. They hid their beer, hid their liquor, all these things. And I came up with an analogy. Basically, we're all cake, just different frosting. And when I was at Glen Bay, when I was away with rehab, I walked every day. They had this wilderness track, and so I would go out on this track when I wasn't in counseling or doing counseling. I just hit the track and walk and walk and walk, and that's where I reflect, and I would pray, and I would find my center. And I've read books after books after books on mind and how the mind works, and becoming like the captain of your mind. And so I started really kind of looking into more of that and doing more reading and kind of expressing myself more and getting rid of it. And as I got through that and I come home, I continued with the walking. Well, I was using that as my kind of time to center, time to deal with that problem. And, that transitioning back home was fine. I mean, I had no problems with that. I mean, it's gone, it's over, it's behind me now. But I learned from it. And anyway, then when Kim got diagnosed and I started having to take care of her, it was like, and then about the same time our grandson was born, and I became a pop-pop. That put a spin on things too, because I was like, I started thinking, okay, my girls are grown, they're married and everything, and then now this little turd comes on. I'm like, I got to be here for him.
Sure.
I want to, teach him about the farm and hunting and the woods, and I'm like, man. And so then I started taking care of Kim, and it's like, taking care of her was difficult. And then they'd bring Walter, my grandson, and he was just a little turd. And they'd put him on the car. I'd get on the floor with him, and then getting back up, it was like, I'm gonna have to call Haynes's, get a crew up here, get me off the floor. It was rough.
Right.
And I was like, man. So I was like, I got to do something. So started going to the gym, and we've all had that, the taste of the gym and working out,
Sure.
But so I went back and started getting back into it. And one day I was in there on the treadmill at the gym, and I was doing this HIIT workout, this high intensity, and with the different inclines on the treadmill. And I was just pounding, and it got to the point where I would hurt. My knees would hurt, my ankles hurt, my hip hurt, my back hurt, and her name was Rachel. She was a nurse, and I come off the treadmill, and this was rough. And she came up to me, and she's like, "Can I offer you some advice?" I was like, "Yeah, please." And she introduced herself. She's, "I'm Rachel. I'm a nurse," and blah blah blah. And she was fit. I mean, this is not like somebody going in, "Let me tell you what," and they're like, "Oh, seriously?" No, she knew what she was talking about. Because it was like, oh. And she's like, "I'm going to say you probably should lose some weight before you train that hard." She says, "You're going to hurt yourself." And she's like, "If you hurt yourself, it's going to throw just a whole bunch of new things that you don't need." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, you're right."
So let me ask you, what weight were you at?
I was probably good 450 pounds.
Wow.
That was, yeah, I mean, it was pretty big. And, but I was, I had to drive, because I'm a big David Goggins disciple. I don't know if any of the viewers know who David Goggins is, but he's the self-proclaimed baddest man on the planet. And he's extreme. I mean, he does like the ultra marathons. He was a Navy SEAL, all these things. But I read his books and I follow his podcast, and he's the first one to say, he goes, "I'm not telling you to go kill yourself." I'm just telling you only utilize 40% of your mind. You got to tap into that. You have to control your mind. You don't let your mind control you. And he's like, so I started really immersing myself in that and pushing myself. Well, I was looking for a jump start. I was like, God, well, that's when the GLP-1s were coming out and really starting. I'm like, so I started doing some research on that, investigating in that, and it was like everything was in Columbus. And, they wanted you to come down twice a day or twice a week. And we were already going down for Kim when she was being treated down at the Spielman James. And I was like, this isn't going to work. Well, then I come across this KJO Nutrition in Ontario. And they had a thing, have a free consultation. So I called them, went over, and they gave me a free consultation on the GLP-1s, the semaglutide, which is the generic of Wegovy and all those. So I was like, I'll give that a try. Well, I got that a try, and that medicine squelched the food noise, the food chatter. Like you sat around at night, you got to get up and get popcorn or get ice cream and all that sort of thing. Yeah. That left, and it was like my hunger, it kind of controlled that. Well, I dropped 50 pounds pretty quick because I was still continuing to work out. I was really focusing on lower impact stuff. I was just walking, keeping moving, focusing on activity. Don't sit too long, get up, keep moving. Well, once I started dropping some weight, I was feeling better. I could move better. And Rachel's advice was golden. Then I started, getting on the treadmill. My workouts started getting longer. And basically, I've done over extended period of time, and that's what I tell people that ask me. There's one thing, there is no quick results here.
Sure.
You have to look at it as a life change. It's not a diet. It's not, well, I'm going to work out and blah, blah, blah. No. GLP-1s will help you. They're a tool that goes in your toolbox. They're not going to fix it all. You're not going to drop a bunch of weight and we're good. No. And even if you do, you're going to look like a Shar-Pei dog because and even I have some skin now, but it's tightening up the more I work. The more I work out, it's coming, and it's a blessing, and I praise God for that, because I thought, oh Lord, because that was a joke. I was like, I'm gonna have the skin cut off, and I'm gonna get handbags made for Kim and the girls and my grandkids, and it's like, now as I've been working out, it's shrinking, and it's starting to. Eventually, it's a vanity thing. I don't look to be doing any photo shoots and layouts or anything like that. But as I get farther, there might be some tucks, and I might get, if I want to hit the beaches when I retire and stuff like that. But as I've gotten into it, the biggest piece is the discipline. If you want it and you start in, I started out my workouts were probably 15, 20 minutes. And now, as we sat here today and this morning, my workout with everything was 2.5 hours. And I had to put it in because I had to be over at Kim. She's in nursing home now. But I'm on a marathon training module for some races that I've signed up for. And I severely underestimated the training that goes in for that.
Yeah.
Because, it's very, very in depth.
Yeah.
And so it's like on my long run days, I'm up over 12 miles, but I got to break them into 2 sessions because I'm not a Kenyan, so it does take me some time.
Sure. Right.
So I broke it up into 2 runs, but the biggest thing is I don't, you don't have to run a marathon. That's just my own personal thing. It's something that, a fraction of a percent of the population has done it.
Sure.
And I think it would be a nice capper to this is a lifelong thing for me. I don't ever want to go back the way it was. Because, we're not getting younger,
Amen.
So it's like the more fit you are, that's going to keep a lot of the health problems at bay.
Yeah.
You keep your flexibility, you keep those muscles and those bones strong. And at the Arnold, this couple weekends ago, they got a senior division, 78, 80-year-olds still just out there doing their thing, and it's like, whoa. So, not to say that I would do that, but right. I'm just saying you can be fit, and that's going to hold off the age goblins, I hope. But I got a lot to, I got grandkids coming, and I want to be there. I want to be an active grandpa. I want to go, help them and play with them and take them hiking and go on active vacations, let's go hiking and hawking. Those are the kind of things I want. I don't want to be sitting, God, Pop-Pop's too tired, Pop-Pop's back hurts. No, not for me. Yeah. And you have to embrace it and truly want it. And a lot of times, unfortunately, it takes a life event to shock those things loose.
Sure.
But, I'm sitting here living proof that it can be done.
Right.
If you want it bad enough. Yeah. And then that correlation between it's not just all about fitness. You start thinking about life different. There's just a whole lot of things that go in there, and it was awakening to me, and it's taken me 55 years and probably a good 20 years to actually get the realization of what all these books, and I listened to motivational stuff a lot when I was walking, the speeches and stuff like this, and you get all, but to actually focus in on what they're saying and taking it to that next level. And Goggins is really big at that. He's like, people are going to say, you're stupid, you're crazy, what are you doing that for? Da-da-da-da-da. Well, that's the herd's trying to keep you here. Mm-hmm. Because once you step out, now you're up here. And they're like, wait, get back down here. All right. And that's the same thing with businesses and ideas and everything people have. It's like, well, I'm gonna start an ice cream shop. Oh, there's 1,400 ice cream shops. What the hell do you want to do that for? There's always the Debbie Downers.
Sure. Oh yeah.
So it's like, and I get blame-based by, people go, what'd you take? What'd you do?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. Or did you take were you on anything? Were you on any medication, or have you done anything?
The GLP-1.
That was
it. I'm off of it now. Okay. I take it basically.
So you basically just natural everything.
Everything is now. It's like I've trained myself, but I'm so ingrained in my diet, when I eat, how I eat, because I eat clean, and now it's just second nature.
Yeah. And
I have some, and I can use, like I said, use it as a maintenance.
But for the most part, just all natural.
No. It's a thing. I've invested so much time and energy into this. It's like, that hamburger's not worth it. You know, or the Big Mac or whatever. No, but it's the point now that stuff doesn't even taste good. Yeah. And it's like, then that's fine. You know, and it's like, I'm not, like I said, you start seeing these little victories, and that's a catalyst into more. And what the people have talked to me about, it's like, I'm not telling you, you don't have to do everything I do. The biggest thing is move.
Sure.
You know, you don't have to run. You don't have to lift weights and all that sort of stuff. There's kettlebell workouts. There's all these things that you don't have to go buy kettlebells. You can fill up jugs of water.
Right.
You know, all these things that stand and march in place, or help play dance studio, you know, something that you're moving, and then just build on it. Right. You know,
just kind of baby steps.
Exactly.
That's kind of how I started out a little bit. I think I told you I started doing 5Ks. Actually, it was right after COVID. Mm-hmm. I needed to do something because I'm like, I need to get out and do something, and you know, and I've seen a lot of health issues with my relation and my relatives and stuff like that, and I was like, man, I don't want to be popping pills and doing all this, and you know, and so that's when I started running. I started out baby steps, just run a little bit, mm-hmm. run a mile here, and then I finally worked up to doing the 5K, 3 miles there. So that's kind of been my journey. And I was up. I lost about 20 pounds. You know, yeah, and I feel good. I mean, the running I do, mm-hmm. you know, it's been life changing because I feel better and I feel good. You know?
Yeah.
You know, doing that.
And the thing is like, you don't have to run.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, you can, and typically it depends on who you ask. And I mean, this is an arguable debate, but you know, they say walking is better for you because you're not pounding the joints when you're running.
Right.
But you can walk at a fast clip and just get the same benefits. You know, just keeping that blood moving. And the thing is you start feeling good, you're going to do more. You know, it becomes an addiction, a good one.
Right.
That's the kind of addiction we all should have.
Exactly.
You know, you want to feel good, you want to get that high, but in the running world, and it's like everything, and it's in the weights and all this stuff is that's where you have, for me personally, is you can't listen. You got to run your own journey.
Sure.
And that's, in my opinion, you know, the mental piece is so huge. You learn that. Don't let your mind screw you, mm-hmm. because it will. Every time you're going to get that. The negativity comes in, and that's when things go off the track. And it's like, you can have bad days. I have bad days. I don't go to the gym very seldom. Like I was telling you before the podcast, I go to the gym to work. I don't sit on social media. I'll take a picture here and there, this and that, but very seldom. I go there, get my work done. I work, I get my sweat, I get all that stuff, and you know, I look around. You know, I see the usual people there, and it's just like, okay, but so many people go and that's their journey. I'm not judging them. You do whatever, but it's like when people talk to me about you don't have to go to the gym. It's just a place that I use it as a focal point because I have to get up and go there.
Right. Gives you.
And then getting a routine.
Right.
That's where it starts. And it's like, same thing with walking. As long as you're doing it and committing yourself to it, you can make it happen anywhere. I mean, the thing is just keep moving. You know, somehow, some way, and then just dedicate it. You have to do it, and eventually it stops being hard. It does. Mm-hmm. It just becomes part of you, and you have to do it. And it's rough to get to that phase, but I promise you, it's worth every bit of it. And then it breaks down to the daily stuff that, for me, it was been like, and Kim always gets a kick out of it because she's my biggest fan. You know, she always asks me every day how my workout was, how my running's going, how was my run, and I was sitting over there with her, and I was scratching back my neck. I was like, holy shit. And she's, what's the matter? I said, I just felt my spine. She's like, what? And I was like, I literally could just feel I said, you don't understand. I've never felt my spine. And then it's like my collarbones and stuff, like little stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, wow. You know, and it's like, I got 40 pair of 40 pants. And I'm like, I don't think I wore 40 pants in kindergarten. I mean, it's just like, what the hell? And it's like, it's nice, just little stuff like that. And I'm always in my head, I'm always the fat guy. And people, if you've been overweight, they understand that.
Sure.
But it's like, the thing is I guess with my personality, you know, I was always known as, I guess, the clown, the fun guy. And weight was never a hindrance to me. I was still active, still had a good time, all that sort of thing. But, you know, now that I've transformed, it's like, huh. And it's the thing with the drinking, too. You know, for so long I was known as the party guy. And everything I did revolved around alcohol. Go golfing is to drink. We're going to go do that. Yeah, fishing. Now, that's a.k.a. drinking on the boat. And I was like, go camp and had to drink. And this and I'm like, oh, my God. Life's not going to be the same. That's what I'm known for, is partying and drinking. No, that's just all bullshit. No, I'm still the same guy. I'm still the same cut up, you know, sick sense of humor and all that stuff. And it's like, and then once you realize that, and it's just like the working out and everything, it's like training, you know, going to school and learning, and that lesson finally hits you. It's like, oh, I can do this. Yeah. Same thing. You know, and you're not going to you go to the gym every day and then come home and look in the mirror. You're not going to see it until you totally forget about it. And then you're at Walmart and walking in and you see somebody, holy crap, you look great. And then you're like, oh, shit. Yeah. You know, now I'm at the point where people walk right by me. Yeah. And I'm like, and at first I was a little pissed. I'm like, seriously? Then they're like, dude, what the hell happened? You know, because I was always known, you know, right. Big Rud. Now it's like, dude, I didn't even realize. Oh, God, you look great. And it's like, really? I thought you know, I didn't know it was you. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. But, you know, but those are the feel-good moments that just make it so good.
So how much have you lost in your journey? How
180 plus.
Okay, a couple.
Yeah, my goal is to get to 200, but this marathon module that I'm on, and I found a woman on TikTok that we kind of hooked up, and she's a triathlete, ultra runner, and does coaching. And I've talked to several trying to find the right kind of coach to kind of give me some insights and stuff, because the lifting world versus the running world's totally different. So I've had to relearn, still learning the running thing, and you know how to fuel, you know, carb cycling, all these sort of things, circuit training, the hills, tempo runs, all that stuff. Well, like she told me, you know, she's like, you know, just, you know, and she was like, you have to step back and look at how far you've come now. Right. First of all, how many 55-year-old men do what you're doing? Not very many. Yeah. So she's like, you should relish in your accomplishments. She goes, I have no doubt that you'll be fine, you'll go finish, and you'll do whatever. But she's like, don't stress so much about it. You know, and it's like, okay, I gotta let it go. Because, man, once you start getting into that, and then everybody's like, well, what kind of times you run? What's your miles? What do you do? Blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, man, I'm not trying to make the Olympic marathon team here. Right. This is just a task that I want to continue. And she's had several runners that told me, she said, two things are going to happen. One, you're going to finish and you're going to hate the world. And you're going to never want to run again. It's over. You're done. You're going to be pissed. You'll never run again. Or two, you're going to hurt. It's going to suck. But within the next 2 hours, you're going to be looking for another one to sign up for. Mm-hmm. She goes, it's just the way it is. And I'm like, I don't know. You know, like, this is rough. But like I said, it's that sense of accomplishment that, you know, I want my grandkids to find them medals and say, hey, look what Pop did. Yeah. And my daughter Emily, you know, she's kind of jumped on the train, you know, where she's eating better. You know, they just bought a house, and you know the basements. They got their weights and the treadmill down there. You know, so you know, and like she says, she goes, Dad, she goes, a lot of people see what you're doing, and you're inspiring a lot of people. Sure. And it's just like, even though you might not think you are, trust me, you know, what you're doing is really great. I'm like, well, I didn't start out for it that way, but you know, I definitely like to give back. But sure, you know, do what I got to do, and I've come, and I'm pretty proud of what I've accomplished thus far. And I think it's, like I said, it's helped me with Kim's situation. It helps me get rid of a lot of that stuff, the anguish, the worry, and future, stuff like that. It's a lot. It really is. But that's where I get rid of it. Yeah. That's where I go find my center. Works 80% of the time. There's sometimes it don't, but there's a lot of times I'm at home by myself now because she's at the nursing home, and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I head to the gym. Yeah. Get on the treadmill and just start going. That's where I get rid of it. Right. That works for me. But we all need that catalyst to kind of help you through. And thank goodness this is God's way, in my opinion. God's way is showing light in tragedy. I'm a believer in that, and I struggle with it at times. But through all tragedy, there's good. Sure. You just got to find it. And Emily, they booked a cruise, and Emily's been under this blanket of her mom's battle ever since she graduated to go to college. And Kim was diagnosed the summer she was getting ready to leave for college, and Em was like, "No, I'm not going. I'm staying home." And Kim's the first one. Like, "How you are? You get going. I'll be fine." And so the whole time, and through her wedding and all these things, and going away on her honeymoon, Emily's, she's such a wonderful, caring person, and she's like, "I don't want to be gone and something happened to Mom." And I was like, "Listen, it's God's will. If you're supposed to be here, you will. If not, go." I said, "You know who your mom is. You know how you have to go live your life. You can't just shut it down." So then she had booked, and they're going on a cruise to Alaska here this fall. And she's like, "I don't know how Mom's," and I was like, and then like she said, she goes, "Well," she goes, "Austin, my son-in-law, she says, we've talked about this, and we've noticed, you and Mom always used to talk about when you guys retire, you're going to get a place at the lake, you're going to go on these trips and blah, blah, blah. Now look, you didn't get to do that." She's like, "Austin and I are going to do that. We're going to do it now." And I was like, well, at least that's one good thing come out of this. You realize, you can't put things off.
Right. Yeah, life's too short.
No, because this is, for me or whoever that's been through stuff like this. I mean, especially, it's the time, I guess I look at it that, I spend every minute I can with her now. Right. And I've never been not. I mean, she's been the biggest blessing in my life, and I love her, and I always will. And I told her if she passes, she's just going to be up there getting the house ready, and I'll be coming in time, because she's going to need the time, because she knows how I am. It's going to take you a long time to get the house the way you want it. Just you work on it, and I'll be coming. But Emily, like she said, "I'm going to live, Dad. Me and Austin, we're going to," I said, "That's exactly what I want. That's what I want you to do. That's what Mom wants you to do." Right. And if that's your takeaway from this, there is good. And like I said, there's so many things that go unseen that, it's just, you can't look at the negative, and there's nothing we can do to stop this. So it's like, Kim has been so strong, and I've learned a lot from her strength and what she's been through and what she continually goes through. The woman never complains. Never. And I'm the complainer. I'm the one that bitches, raises hell, and gets all fired up. Yeah. Biggest thing she's ever said to me was at the Spielman. I took her down there she's got to get treatments every 3 weeks. And she was having a bad day, and roll her in. You go down there, and it's just everybody. Yeah. And she goes, and I'm mad, gotta wait. I was like, bullshit, type of stuff. And she's like, "Honey," she goes, "there's always look at these people." She goes, "There's people worse than me." Yeah. And I'm just like, wow. Really? Yeah. And that's been her the whole time. And I know it's like I said, I know she hurts, I know she suffers, but it's like she never lets on, never complains, and it's just like, wow, the strength that she has. And then that's where it kind of goes into my training. It's like, poor woman can't walk. I'm going to walk for her. Right. I'm going to run for her. Because she enjoys that. She enjoys my success. And she's in a bed now. And then, like I said, daily, she'll ask how it was, how's it going, when's the first race, when is this, and she's starting to have some recall issues, and she'll ask, when's the marathon? And I said, that's May 30th. Oh, and when's the half marathon? I said, that's May 3rd. Okay. Well, isn't there one before this? Yes, there's a 4-miler in Columbus on April 12th. And she's got it down. And I pray that, God blesses me, that I can accomplish those things and bring that medal home for her.
Sure.
That we can share that together. And even if she's not here, I know I'm going to be carrying her with me. And that's why I tell her, and she knows that too. It's like, I'm being selfish, wanting her, because I know she's suffering. And I told her, I said, everything I do, the rest of my life, you're going to be there. I don't have to question that, and these are hard conversations that typically you think you'd have at 70, 80 years old, not in your 50s.
Yeah, right.
But like I said, I got to look at the blessing of 26 years with her. 2 beautiful daughters, and they've had a lot of great things, and it's like, there's blessings there.
Sure.
And it's like I said, I just got to have faith. And, but it's kind of rough at times, I'm not going to lie, but hey, and it's, like I said, that's all been part of my transformation, just kind of that in a nutshell.
There you go. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on your busy schedule and coming on and sharing this with me.
Oh, absolutely.
And this is kind of like I said before in my intro, I'm kind of doing twofold. I'm doing small businesses, and then I'm doing speaking of people that have life-changing stories, motivational, inspirational stories. For you, I'm doing this. I'm not making money in this. I'm doing this for you guys. I want to help you or whoever's out there listening. If it touches one person, it's all worth it. Because I do it, because I want to help people. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
If somebody can get something out of this message, it can help them, motivate them. Maybe they're struggling through something.
Absolutely.
You can be an encouragement to them.
Absolutely.
And hopefully this is encouragement to anybody out there.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, I appreciate that, and then there again, I appreciate you guys tuning in the podcast. And do you have any other, any last just motivational words or wisdom or any inspirational thing out there that might be?
Just do it. Don't wait for tomorrow. No, not someday. It's always day one. And you just make that step and don't look back. Don't, you're going to have bad days, you're going to have cheat days and all that stuff. You just don't stop. You just wipe the slate clean and go back and keep doing what you're doing. Do it. By everything I can put out there and people I don't know and do know, my whole heart, just do it. Yeah. You will not regret it at all.
Okay. Well, do you have any, if anybody want to reach you, do you have any?
You can find my Facebook page, Matt Rudd, under the Facebook, or my email is ruddfarms@yahoo.com. You can send me an email or direct message me on Facebook, or...
I'll share that. I'll put that in the show notes where you can get a hold of him.
And a lot of times, we're a smaller community. If you don't know, if you know somebody, or with, Buckeye Central, older kids, older people, somebody on Facebook's friends with us, or even, get a hold of Gorman and he can fire me a text or whatever.
Sure.
Anything I can do to help, I'm an open book. I'll give any advice and direct them any way you want to go.
All right. Well, again, I appreciate you coming out.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
That. Thank you very much.
You bet.
And with that, I'll say God bless, and I will catch you on the flip side.